All right, my name is Gray-Khadevis Robinson. Um, Here I coach at Ohio State, the head cross country coach here at Ohio State. I've held the same position at UNLV, which is in Las Vegas, and also at LSU. So I've worked at a couple of different schools. Obviously, UNLV is more of a mid-major type school. LSU is about as big as it gets, especially when it comes to track and field.
Right.
And now I'm at Ohio State. Before I started coaching, I was a professional track and field athlete for many years. Didn't retire until my mid to late 30s, which is not normal for track and field, particularly in the 800. And had the opportunity to get into coaching while I was still competing. And so how that came about, I had a lot of individuals that kept wanting to come and train with me when I was a professional. And I kept trying to emphasize to them that there's no secret. Like, it's not no secret potion or pill or workout or whatever. It's a cumulative effect of everything that's going on. So am I talented? Yeah, a little, but no more talented than a lot of other people. You know, I never won state in high school, none of those types of things.
Right.
But I did find a system that worked. So in other words, whenever I would find something that worked for me, I would hold on to it. And whenever I would find something that wouldn't work, I would eliminate it, you know? And so it was
Right.
pretty much that simple. So during that process, I started coaching open athletes, professional athletes. And lo and behold, one of my professional athletes was coaching a high school. This is in Santa Monica, California. And she had gotten a job at a university, and she was leaving in the middle of the season. And so that high school needed a coach. And so she asked me, she said, Katie, there's a high school I coach at. It's an all-girls Catholic private high school, you know? Most of the kids are more academic, strong, academically strong. They're more focused on academics, but they're great kids. You'll love it, but you want to do it. And I'm thinking, I'm a professional athlete.
Right.
Do I really want to coach high school, cross country and track, and all girls school, and it's a private school, very expensive, you know? But, you know, I thought about it and I said, you know what? I mean, she needs someone to step in. I can give it a try and see how it works. It was a great experience. As ironic as that is, you know, good thing about the West Coast and California, Santa Monica, and those Calabasas and all those areas, it's extremely diverse. They're very progressive in their thinking and their life. So they never had any issue with a black male distance coach of a private school, white, all Catholic school. And I loved it. It was great. And I had a great experience. And while I was doing that, I have a friend that ran professional like myself, and she coached at UNLV. And she asked me, she came to me, and I was still competing at the time, and I was, getting ready for my last couple of years of my career. She said, Katie, I look at coming out here and coaching with me here in Vegas, because her husband now, who's a boyfriend then, a close friend of mine from Texas named Larry Wade, he knew me, knew I could coach and all that. And I'm thinking, I live in, here I am in Santa Monica, LA. I'm married, got a couple of kids, and I went back. I got my bachelor's degree at TCU in Texas, where I'm from. But I went back, got my master's degree, and I'm thinking, I don't know if this is what I really want to do. But she said, just come check it out. I'm thinking Vegas. You only hear crazy things about Vegas, right?
Right.
And so I went down there and I checked it out.
So yeah.
Yeah, but and that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know, because let me tell you this. I went out there to check it out, and a couple of things happened. And this is how the universe works, and this is how God works. So on the plane ride, it just so happened to be some people talking about Vegas and living there. And there was this one group of people who was complaining about everything. Oh, it gets hot, and oh, it's wild, and all this stuff. And then there was this older couple who was still, it's the West Coast, man. So people, even though they're older, they still kind of, they're still lively. They're still fun.
Right.
They still have,
right.
They wasn't shutting it down, put it like that. They was older, but they still like to have fun. And the guy said, that's BS. He said, most of the crazy stuff you hear about Vegas are tourists when they come in. He said, most people live in Vegas. They don't go to the Strip and they don't do all that. They go to, Lake Las Vegas, or they go to Lake Mead. They do other stuff. And he said, Vegas is a great place to live. You get a lot of bang for your buck. And, if you don't gamble, if you don't drink all that, you'll be fine, And he said, I have a home in Hawaii, and I have one in Vegas, and I go back and forth. And I thought that was odd. I'm like, man, you can afford Hawaii. You live in Hawaii, nice. And you still thinking about keeping your space in Vegas. And he was like, most definitely. So that resonated with me. And then the second thing was, when I got there, I talked to a guy who's my close friend right now, he's just ET is Eric Tolliver. He's a great guy, and but anyway. And when I went in to talk to him, we went through our whole little spiel. He sat back. He said, "What do you think about all of this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Like Vegas, you're married, you got kids, raising the family here. What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh." He said, "You a little worried?" I said, "A little bit." He said, "So should I be worried?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, I got a kid, and I've been living here." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And then he just broke it down to me. So it changed everything. Went there. Started coaching, went well, absolutely loved it. I still love Vegas. I'm Vegas's. If I won a lottery today, and my wife would let me, I would move. I would just move to Vegas. People don't believe, and I don't even really gamble, but I like the sun. I like it like this every day. I like the sun every day.
Right. Exactly.
I like that it's 3 hours, 4 hours from LA. I like that if you want to go to the mountains, you can go to Mount Charleston. I like if you want to hike, you can go to Red Rock Canyon. I like. If I want to go to concerts, I like MMA, UFC. I like different foods. I like closing my eyes and throwing a dart on a map, and whatever food I hit, I can go get that. I like all the festivals. So anyway, I coached there. Then I had a friend that was at Ohio State. They had a position open up. I was doing extremely well in Vegas with the group I had. So they said, "You want to come out to Ohio State?" Okay, again, it was that same situation. I was loving Vegas. We had just built a house from the ground up out in Mountain's Edge. So it was it was dream for us. We picked the plot and built the house. So it was like, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I really don't want to move. I like here, but if I'm going to be a coach, I need to have more than one school, and I need to. It doesn't look bad to have Ohio State on your resume. That's what I was thinking at the time. And so I came out to visit Columbus, and to be quite honest with you, when I came to visit, I didn't particularly find anything exciting about it. But I will say this: I was just coming from the Olympic Games too, so what are you going to find exciting when you're coming from London Olympic Games? And so, but I thought, it's a big city, it's a diverse city. If I don't like it, I could probably always navigate my way back to a smaller school. Let me try it. So I came out here. And I loved it. And so that being the case, what I realized for myself is I bring my happiness with me. Meaning no matter where I go, I just make a decision to be happy, So was here for a year. Lo and behold, we took a vacation. We went to, I want to say Turks and Caicos or somewhere, my wife and I, and at the time, my two kids, I didn't have my daughter yet. And we got back, I had a phone call waiting, and answered the phone. It was, it was Coach Shaver from LSU. And I'm like, what is this about? And I listened, say, there's a position, or you willing, you thinking about it. And again, I'm sitting here, I had a good group coming back. We did great, but it's LSU. So LSU in track is like somebody turning down Ohio State or Alabama, and now LSU in football, right?
Right.
You just gotta at least take a look. So I went, looked around again. I didn't think it was anything particular that was amazing to me in respect to what I was looking for. But it's 3 hours away from where my wife's from. My wife's from Jasper, Texas, little country town in Texas. I'm from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. So I was like, you know what? It's LSU. Give yourself a chance to be on teams that have a chance of winning national championships and those types of things. Give it a try. Went out there, loved it. Was there for 4 years. Went really, really, really well. Was coaching men and women. And that was another reason, because at Ohio State at the time, the programs were split. So I was only coaching women. So up until that point, I was only coaching women. So from the high school to UNLV to Ohio State, I was only coaching women. Had the opportunity to coach men. Went from there and went to LSU 4 years. Had the opportunity to come back here and coach men and women. I knew I'd have an opportunity to coach, have an opportunity to do better at a cross country, because at LSU, they don't really, that's not their focus. Right. So I came here, and it's been 3 years, and it's been going absolutely amazing. And so that's kind of been the journey.
Well, and the fun part about it is, and you're talking about being out here in Las Vegas where the sun shines most of the time, I grew up in Mansfield, Ohio, an hour north of Columbus, where the last picture I took in Mansfield was my car covered in ice. I went, That's it, I'm done. Sorry. Love Ohio, love being there, but I couldn't handle chipping ice anymore. So you've been back and forth. So the beauty of being in Ohio, though, and being an Ohio State person is you tend to ignore all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you said, what's going on around you, the campus, the people, the way that people embrace your programs, Yeah, you're just so. What was different about this trip here, being in Ohio State, being in Columbus, just like you said, because you had a big smile on your face when I mentioned that. What does that bring to you as far as the following and the camaraderie of the people?
I understand it better this time. The first time I was here, to be honest with you, if anybody who's from Ohio or have any connection with Ohio State understands that the people who follow it are the fans is unparalleled. It's just, you would have to go to the school or be from Ohio to understand it, because it's just, it wouldn't make sense to you. So the example I always give people is that I'm from Texas. So I went to TCU, and I simply don't cheer for A&M or University of Texas because I don't have a connection with them. You know, I went to TCU. I cheer for TCU. When you come to Ohio, everybody cheers for Ohio State. And it was tough for me to get there. I'm like, I had neighbors when I moved there the first time. They went to the University of Miami, Ohio University. They went to other schools in Ohio, but everything you talked about was Ohio State. So one day I got around to asking them, I was like, what year did y'all graduate from Ohio State? They said, oh, we didn't go to Ohio State. And I'm like, huh? I said, did y'all go to college? They said, yeah, we went to such and such. I'm like, I've never heard y'all say anything about that school. Y'all saying, oh, well, everybody here, you go to other schools, but you're Ohio State, So the first time I was here, I didn't get that. Whenever LSU called and I was going to move and I was talking to some people about it, everybody kept asking me, you going to leave Ohio State? Like, why? And I'm like,
how is that possible, right?
Yeah, I'm like, it's track and field. It's LSU. They don't won more national champ. It was like, I'm like, it's different reasons, but people here couldn't understand it. So what it is when you in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, for one, is the 15th biggest city in the nation. Most people don't know that. People don't know that Columbus is bigger than Cincinnati. Columbus is bigger than Cleveland. It's fairly diverse. Columbus have the second largest Somalian population in the U.S.
Right.
It has a large African population, a good mix of Asians and, of course, African Americans. So I like diversity. Obviously, the places I've named that I've lived, you can tell it's diverse. The educational system is good, whether that's private or public. It's
right.
Pretty good. You can got good neighborhoods to live in. We used to live in Hilliard, which is excellent, and now we live out here in Pickerton, which is still excellent. The athletics programs here are excellent. I mean, like, you get some of the best talent in the U.S. from here. The one thing I say is I'm big on progressiveness, meaning I'm big on people that think outside the box and living a progressive life. Does that make sense? So, you there?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, I always tell people this. Jesse Owens went to Ohio State in the 30s, right? In the 50s and 60s, they was bombing schools and churches in the South because they want to integrate. So there's a pretty good gap there, right? So I guess what I'm saying, I'm not saying that there's not issues here and things are not great there or whatever. What I'm trying to say is there's a level of progressiveness here that's attractive to me. The gay and lesbian community here is pretty big and it's open, and people can live there. They can be whoever they want to be without being bothered or nobody messing with them. I like that. But they don't mess with you neither. So they don't put it in your face and try to make you believe something or do something or change your life, and nobody messes with them. And to me, I like that area. The longest tenured mayor at the time was Mayor Coleman, who's a black male, which I thought was pretty interesting. The AD at Ohio State's Gene Smith, whom I think is one of the best ADs in the nation. I truly believe that. I'm not saying that because I work here.
He writes the check, but yeah. Right.
But I think everyone would agree on that. Not only people who work here, but people who other schools who know him. He's really that good. The school president, Dr. Drake, is absolutely amazing. Him and his wife, they're top-notch people, human beings. And so I guess that's what it is. It's you have a little bit of everything here. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find these things other places, but it does mean that it is an attractive place to be. If you want to raise a family, it's a family place. It's a big city, but you don't hear about a lot of the craziness that happens in a lot of places. But you have everything you need.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And again, I was there for 20 years from high school to the time I decided to move. And 19 years. And it was 19 years of the best years of my life. And just for the things exactly what you said. And you go back to the mayor, and the mayors before Mayor Coleman. You go back to Andy Geiger, the AD, before Gene Smith.
Yep.
Everybody was just, this is what we do. Maybe it's a Midwestern thing. I don't know. But there aren't a lot of problems. They don't cause problems. I mean, there are things that happen, sure, but they handle and move on. So, and I think when we're talking about Buckeye Nation, you know, it's a group of people that it's not just one group or another group. It's everybody. And the one thing they have in common is the one thing that they really hang their hats on. Like you said, you're in Pickerington. My sister lives in Pickerington. And it's, you know, it's one of those things you just drive down the neighborhood, you're going to see Buckeye flags, you know, and if you just step outside and yell OH, somebody's going to yell IO. You know,
that's the way it is.
It's a fantastic thing. Yeah. You know, you'll see guys on the Turnberry Golf Course, they got their little Buckeye bags and everything. Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to get accomplished here. Let people know that it is something, not just because we're cheerleading the university, but to understand that it's people that have something to do with that. Like you said, you were here in Las Vegas.
I like to say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but you know, again, I'm from Dallas-Fort Worth, so you know my heart is there because that's where I'm from. That's where my family's at. You know, kind of a shout out to Biggie when Biggie said, "If I have to choose a coast, I got to choose the East." I live out there, so don't go there. You know, but what he's saying is, but it's still good in other places. And what I say here is that the one thing about Columbus that a lot of people don't get is it's a really amazing place, but you don't hear about it. So I'll give you an example. There's a waterfall in the middle of Columbus that people don't know about. And you can go off of Hayden Run Road. It's called Hayden Run Waterfall. And it's a waterfall. It's a freaking waterfall.
Right.
And nobody really knows about it. So, and then there's places you can drive within 45 to an hour outside of Columbus, what is called Old Man's Cave and places like that that are just absolutely amazing. And so I think that's what happens. You don't hear about all the culture that's here in Columbus. You don't hear about the diversity. You don't hear about the food is here is
top notch.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is. And I think, you know, Vegas might have it a little bit, or LA, whatever, but I'm saying it's up there with the top places in the US when it comes to a food culture. It really does. Education wise, it's a very educated population. So it's, you know, here's another thing I'll say. You have there's a good amount of people that are affluent, that have money or resources, but they don't flaunt it. You don't see a whole bunch of the flaunting, which is, and I can go both ways. I lived in Vegas and I lived in LA and I'm from Dallas, so I'm not opposed to people celebrating their success the way they like to. But I'm saying there's the thing about Ohio State, the university and this is one thing when a lot of universities say that they're a community school, or they connect with the community, right?
Right.
Here, that's not like an initiative. It ain't like, okay, we're Ohio State, we have a planned initiative. No, it's connected to the community. Like that's what it is. It's like that's part of. It's no way of getting around that. You know,
when you go out recruiting, you just say, "I'm from Ohio State," and they go, "Oh, welcome."
Yeah,
because you're part of their community already.
It is. It does. And that's the thing that, to be quite honest with you, I've had to learn to get better at, because there's an expectation that goes along with that, right? So there's you said it's a Buckeye Nation thing, and there's an expectation on things that you should do or you shouldn't do. But if you're not from Ohio, you don't really get it. You don't it's not a class to learn this stuff, right? You just kind of have to figure it out as you go. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge for me personally, because I navigate a little bit differently as the way that I like to approach certain things. But it is, you know, like I said, it is a good place to be for as work environment, family environment, life environment. Kids, oh my goodness, is if you look at some of their high school programs, you got to do this somewhere, I'm on the phone. the high school programs, you'll see that athletically, oh my goodness, they have some of the, like I'm in Pickerton, so, you know, Pickerton's teams are like ridiculously good. So.
Well, again, it's where you're at and what you're doing, and to be able to embrace that, because that was one of the questions I had when I started talking to people that didn't grow up with this, that how did they embrace it? For me, it's inbred. I can't get away from it. Yeah. But the more I talk to people that have come into it, that enthusiasm is fantastic. Well, I tell you what, it looks like you're in the middle of something.
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to speak on that, John. You got to wait 1 second. I'm on the phone. When you say embrace, here's my and this is an important point I wanted to get through. You're really forced to embrace it,
right?
Because if you don't embrace it, you're going to have issues. And I don't mean that. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's certain things that you just have to. It's like I don't even know. You got to embrace that Ohio Stadium, the horseshoe. You know, you're going to have 100,000 screaming fans, right? And they're going to be there, and they're going to be. You just know that's just the way it is. And so to get upset because you know, nothing else is going on when the Buckeyes are playing, is like, I mean, come on, you just
too bad, right?
You might as well. They're not going to. That's not going to change because of you. It's just It's just not. And it's going to be here when you know if you're here or not, right? So to me, that's the thing about embracing it. It's like some of these things that you might be thinking about embracing, you're not gonna have. This brand. It's a brand, put it like that. And this brand has been here before you, and it's gonna be here after you. And there's many people that understands that. And it's amazing that if you look at even the track world, like Mouse, who's the head track coach at Florida. I mean, he's from Columbus, you know, and I can. The head coach that's over at TCU, the school I went to, Darryl, who's a great coach, he's from Ohio. And I can just keep naming people that's either from Columbus or Ohio that you would be absolutely amazed. You start looking at football, and the football coaches, you know, when you start looking through Saban and Bill, they all come through here in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah,
and it's like, man, but you don't know that until you get here.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. There's so many that's come either through Ohio or Ohio State or Columbus or from here. And obviously, you know, you got the Jesse Owens. And I always say this. I say, listen, here's the thing. Jack Nicklaus went to Ohio State, you know, one of the greatest golfers of all time. You start talking about track and field, you start talking about Jesse Owens. I mean, you know, come on. I mean, Butch Reynolds, of course, but still. You start talking about wrestling. You got, you know, Kyle Snyder, who just won Olympic gold, and he came back and finished school here. So you can start talking about different individuals in different sports. Of course, you start talking about Ohio. You can't have a conversation without talking about LeBron James.
Right.
And then you can just go on, you know, more and more people that have a connection to the school, you know?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's what we've been trying to get across to people is it's not just Ohio State football. They play a game on Saturday and that's it. Though, like you said, you can't avoid that. But there's so many other things that are Ohio State oriented and people that are really into it. And like you said, Buckeye Nation. You can't really say that about other places. It's football nation or it's basketball nation. Well, this is the whole thing.
Here's what I tell people. Ohio State has 36 varsity sports. 36. Go look at, and you know, and it's, you know, just go look at some of the other schools, you know, barring the Stanfords and stuff, but the other schools, some of them, you know, look at some of the SEC schools, they have about 17 or 18. You have to put that in perspective. It's like Ohio State has 2 athletic departments, right? And a lot of the sports are good. That's the thing that I think I try to explain is like, it ain't just they got these sports just to have them. It's like you start looking at wrestling, really good. You start looking at volleyball, really good. You start looking at lacrosse, really good. You start looking at women's synchronized swimming, really good. Rowing, really good. Tennis, like all these
Your
sports.
tennis teams are both number 1, right? Yeah.
It's so many really, 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 really good. And the reason it's like this, so people say, well, you know, if you didn't have as many sports, maybe then it'd be more money for this sport. And it's like these other schools. I say, you don't get it, do you? That's not what it's the sports is a comparison or in relative to the community. You know, you don't just get rid of lacrosse because it don't bring in a lot of money or it's not a part. No, lacrosse is tied into Ohio State. That's a part of wrestling is tied into synchronized swimming or rowing or fencing. Yeah, you would say, well, why you got fencing? You don't understand. that's part of Buckeye Nation. They're good for one, they're really good. But for two, it's like there's a part of the community of the 50-some thousand people that graduated from here every year and the biggest alumni base in the world that follows fencing. So that's the thing I try to get people to understand, that when you come here as a student athlete, man, you don't have to have any money. You're gonna always have something to do because you got so many different sports you can get involved in.
Right. Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's something I appreciate the enthusiasm, because some people like, oh, you're a Buckeye fan. No, it's more than that. Like you said, it inhabits who you are. So
yeah,
it's great. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to let you get back to your life. When all of this goes back to what it's supposed to be going back to, obviously, the world is up in the air right now. What does the next step for your program? Where do you have to go from there?
Well, we've had probably the last 2 to 3 years have been some of the best years in school history. The men hadn't won conference in 20 years. We won indoor and outdoor 2 years ago. The women we won indoor and outdoor last year, and we won indoor this year. We was podium, which is the best in school history last year indoors. Our women's cross country top finish in school history in nationals, got 23rd, first time in school history, ranking the whole 9. So things have been going well. Our goal and our hope is to continue to do that. Continue to break records, continue to be successful. They say adversity introduces a man or a woman to themselves, but it also says from a sports standpoint, adversity causes some to break and causes others to break records. Right. And I'm hoping that this adversity causes us to break records. But, here's the reality when we start talking about life. The beauty, I don't want to say beauty, but the one thing we can say we got out of this whole challenge is that it has emphasized to the world and to the states in particular how important sports are. Because people are lost right now. People don't have anything to watch on TV. They don't have nothing to do. And now we know how important sports are, not just from a standpoint of distracting you, but it gives us some to come together and cheer for. It gives us something to be excited for. It gives us something to aspire to. It gives us something to be hopeful for. And so now we know that. Now we can see the importance of that. And so for me, it's like you can't never predict. Like they say you make plans and God laughs. We can't predict what's going to happen here and what's going to happen there. But what we can do now is determine how we're going to respond from it and what we're going to do afterwards. So here's the challenge I'm going to have that I'm going to give others is this. We're all going to have a book in our life, a chapter in our life. Everybody who's from the age of, let's say, 14, 13, all the way up to 80 is going to have a chapter in their book of life called coronavirus, right? It is, because we all going through it right now. So that chapter is going to say coronavirus, whatever, right? And so my question is, or my challenge is, in that chapter in your book, in your life, the coronavirus chapter, the chapter where you talk about the corona, how is it going to read? Is it going to read you sitting at home and didn't do nothing, or you were sad and depressed, or you missed out on your years, so you didn't get to compete, and you mad at somebody about it, or you got into it, or you figured out that you couldn't spend a lot of time, you figured out that you didn't like spending a lot of time with your wife, or your kids got on your nerves, or whatever. Is that what the chapter is going to read? Or the chapter is going to read that, man, I had so much good time spending time with my kids, I had good time spending time with my wife, I reevaluated my goal, I reevaluated my life, I reevaluated what I needed to do and what this all meant. I understood things could be taken away at any time, so I took advantage of it. How is the chapter of your life right now is going to be read in your book? And if it's not looking like it's going to be read the way you would want it to be, then you need to start working on it now.
Right. Reinvest in yourself. Right?
Exactly.
That's what you have to do. Reinvest yourself, looking at, this is what I got to do. So, yeah. All right. Appreciate your time. I tell you what we'll do is, because we're going to post this up with a couple other different things, and we'll make sure we get it out so people can see, how excited you are about Ohio State. We'll make sure it circulates around Columbus. And I also get it in front of some of the athletic directors I know around town, around the state, and they'll say, I want my kids to run for him.
All right, sounds good.
I want my kids to run for him.
That's what I want. Hey, I'm a speaker, as you can tell, and I love going and giving speaking projects. So anything that I can do, let me know. Okay.
Appreciate your time, man. Have fun.
I will. I appreciate it.
We'll talk to you later. All right. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.